Hello, I'm Kurt Mische. On behalf of Trinity's Vestry and Stewardship Committee, I'm happy to welcome you to this edition of Trinity Cathedral's Virtual Ministry Moments. Here I Am, Lord, is the theme of this year's stewardship campaign at Trinity Episcopal Cathedral. It reflects how we can give ourselves to God's work, commit our lives to God's service, and use God's gifts to bless those around us. Now, it also reflects our current reality. Even though the cathedral is physically closed during this time, we are virtually open, and our worship, our ministries, and outreach are continuing and expanding. After all, a church is not a building, but it's the ministry we do, and we are all here to answer God's call. Traditionally, during the stewardship campaign, members share testimonials during our services to describe some of our various ministries and how they support the mission of Trinity, welcoming all people to know and live as Christ in the world. In place of these in-person announcements, this series of videos will introduce you to just a small sample of Trinity's compassionate service, healing, and outreach ministries. Nancy Richards is an active member of Trinity, having moved here a number of years ago following her retirement. In addition to participating in the choir, she is the team coordinator for Trinity's Sack Lunch program, a key outreach ministry designed to address human needs. So Nancy, can you explain to us exactly what the Sack Lunch program is and give us a brief background on that?
For the last, over 30 years, volunteers from Trinity Cathedral have been handing out sack lunches to those who are homeless and are food poor. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, regardless of any holidays, including Christmas, Easter, whatever. And we hand out the sack lunches, and it is food that is not going to decompose. So people can put it in their refrigerators if they have their backpack, and they can keep it, for a period of time, and it's going to be good to eat. So we have quite a few volunteers in our program, and sometimes people will bring extra food like bananas or cheese that's wrapped in plastic, anything like that, and hand it out in addition to our sack lunches.
And I believe you also provide some food for the Eddy House. Is that correct, Nancy?
Right. So the Eddy House is a facility for homeless teenagers. Their average age is like 19-year-olds, and they just recently have an overnight facility where kids can come and take showers and sleep in a safe place overnight. So we started giving them the contents of the sack lunches, and they supplement the food that they give out to the kids that come to their facility.
And what do the sack lunches contain? What would I find inside one of those sack lunches if I received one?
Well, we have our protein source is Vienna sausage. They're like little hot dogs. Then we have a container of applesauce, and depending on what we can get, we used to give out crackers with peanut butter in them, but we couldn't get those, so we give Rice Krispie treats and granola bars, and we also put in a spoon for the applesauce and also a little handy wipe to wash their hands.
And I think I understood that the pets get a little something as well.
Yeah, so what's unique about our program, and what I'm very proud of, we also give out cat and dog food. And volunteers supply the cat and dog food. I don't think any other programs do that, and if we didn't do that, some people would try to take the food that they get and feed their pets. So that's, I think, an exceptional service that we provide.
So how has the pandemic changed things this year?
Well, it's a great question because I assumed we would get a lot more people in our program, but we're really doing about 60 to 75% of what we did last year. What's interesting though is we have such a variety of people coming. So previous to the pandemic, we would sort of get the same people all the time with, one or two people we hadn't seen before. And now it's like every time we have our program handing out the sack lunches, there are all kinds of people coming that we haven't seen before. So it's a wide variety of people, a lot more women than we've ever had in the past. And 1 week ago, we actually got a new family member, a little baby who was just a month old, and her parents were right there. And it was just really heartbreaking, and that, these people come here to get that. And obviously it's not food for the baby, but for the parents. But it's, our social services absolutely need a little bit of a goosing, I think.
And I imagine that transition includes some safety procedures, enhanced safety procedures for food handling?
Well, we wear gloves when we're handling the food, and then we all wear masks. We wear masks when we're putting the contents of the food into the sack lunches, and then we wear masks and gloves too when our people are picking up the lunches. And just to keep everybody a little bit safer, because a lot of our recipients don't wear masks, we put the sack lunches on a cart, and then they come up and take it themselves, and then they back off, and we keep our social distancing, so it's very safe.
Give us an idea of how many sack lunches you distribute, Nancy.
Well, it depends. Last year we gave out over 10,000, and the years previous to that we gave out over 10,000 as well. This year, again, through the COVID time, actually we've given out about 90% of what we did last year, so that's March through August. So that's what our stats are right now, and it's surprising again because I think we all assumed that there'd be more people that were coming, so the numbers would increase to receive the food that we give, but again, the numbers have been down a bit. And of course it's been very hot, so many times some people want to stay in. And then I did ask one of the fellows that usually comes routinely, and I said, I haven't seen you lately. He goes, well, I'm sort of trying to stay in as much as possible. So they're trying to protect themselves too.
So do you have other thoughts from your heart that you would like to share?
Well, my heart goes out to all our wonderful volunteers, because it's not just the food that we give out. It's the smiles and the caring comments, and that's very important. A lot of the fellows that come routinely, we know their names, and so we can talk to them and just ask them how they're doing. So it's kind of food for the soul as well as for their bodies.
Well, thank you for all the information that you've been able to share on the Sack Lunch program. Any final thoughts about the importance of the stewardship campaign relative to helping provide for the Sack Lunch program?
Well, Trinity Cathedral graciously has a budget for our Sack Lunch program, and if we didn't have that, we couldn't run the program. And if we don't keep the budget up from all those wonderful people that contribute, that speaks volumes. So I personally cannot thank enough the people that contribute to Trinity every month, every year. So generous, because this is one of the things, as Christians, we're supposed to take care of each other, and this is one of the ways that we do it.
Marty and Burke Stancill have been members at Trinity for more than 4 years. In addition to volunteering with the Sack Lunch program, they've been instrumental in coordinating the St. Paul's Food Pantry donations. So Marty and Burke, what is St. Paul's Food Pantry? How does that work?
Well, the food pantry was started in 2008 during the Great Recession as one of St. Paul's ministries. And in 2009, it partnered with the Food Bank of Northern Nevada. And in 2013, it became a 501c3 so that it would be able to raise money. And it is now a network of around 145 food banks around northern Nevada, serving the needy. It is open twice a week, every week, and our parishioners have been very generous in always donating. When we had in-person services, we had red barrels distributed by the doors of our church, and people would leave the donations there. And on the third Sunday of the month, Father William would bless the donations. And Burke and I then, that following week, would load them into our car and take them over to St. Paul's Food Pantry. However, without our in-person services these days, Bonnie Strader actually is the one who came up with this idea of having a drop-off donation. And it is working just beautifully. And I think Burke wants to talk a little bit about that.
Yes, we now have a bi-monthly drive-by donation. And it's the volunteers are masked and meet our parishioners' cars as they drive in, and you don't even have to get out of your car. We'll come over masked and gloved if necessary to get the donation from your vehicle to mine in this case. And it has been very effective. No health issues. We can also we will also have a pickup service, and we'll get things at your door if you don't want to come in. All you have to do to operate that is to call the church and set up a time and a date, and we'll go to your house, pick things up. You won't even have to come out. You can leave it on the front porch, and we can pick it up there. It's been wonderfully successful so far, and thanks again to Bonnie for the great idea. Since the beginning of the program, the revamped program, we have taken more than 50 barrels of food over to St. Paul's. It's been amazing. Our parishioners have been wonderfully generous. We want to thank all our volunteers, as Marty said. Yeah. Jean and Bonnie.
Jean Muir and Bonnie Strader have been great, and between the four of us, we work in teams of two, and two will be, Burke and I will take either the morning 9:30 to 10:30 spot or the 5 to 6 spot, and Bonnie and Jean is always with us as well, and Jean and Bonnie take the alternate spot, and we're doing this twice a month, which has worked out really, really well.
50 barrels of food may not sound like a lot who has never lifted a barrel. That's a lot of food, and it's been a thrill for us and for the recipients over at St. Paul's. A lot of food. It fills up my car, which is an SUV, right to the brim, and we consider very fortunate.
Well, those are some impressive numbers. What specific items do you need to fill up those big buckets?
Well, our parishioners are, in their wisdom and common sense, know that any non-perishable food items would be appreciated. And we get lots of canned foods, tuna, peanut butter, all sorts of non-perishable goodies.
Soups, canned meats, canned seafood, ramen noodles,
juice boxes,
anything non-perishable. The Food Bank of Northern Nevada actually donates to the St. Paul's Food Pantry fresh produce the last week of each month. So there is fresh produce available to people. And at St. Paul's, it now is a drive-through situation. Also what is needed, personal hygiene products, anything from toothbrushes, toothpaste, shampoo, deodorant, baby diapers, any soap, hand soap.
And a great big check is always appreciated as well.
And it can be a small check as well. Monetary donations are very...
A check of any size.
Monetary donations are very important to the food pantry because they spend approximately $30,000 a year buying food from the food bank of Northern Nevada. So monetary donations are very, very important as well.
So do you have other thoughts from your hearts that you'd like to share?
Well, this is just such an important ministry always, and especially at this difficult time for so many people who are out of work, don't know when they'll get a job back, if their job will even be available for them eventually. Some are losing their homes or apartments, and there is such an urgent need for food and, as I say, personal hygiene items at this time. I just can't emphasize enough how important it is, and we're so fortunate to be part of a church with such generous donors, because everybody has really stepped up and been so very generous.
So true. From my heart, I'm thrilled that Marty chose this ministry, because it's become my ministry as well. And I can't begin to tell you how much joy it gives me to see the generosity of our parishioners when they arrive, and to see the looks on the faces of those people at St. Paul's when they are thrilled with the wonderful things that we bring to them.
Well, thank you both for sharing this wonderful information on the St. Paul's Food Pantry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank Nancy, Marty, and Burke for sharing the work of these two important outreach ministries. This is just a small sample of the varied ministries your stewardship pledge supports.